Hello, brilliant entrepreneur. It's Tash Corbin here, and welcome to another episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. This is episode number 337, which means you can find all the relevant links and show notes over at tashcorbin.com/337. In today's episode, I'm going to share with you how to get more sales from social media. So if you feel like you're putting in a lot of time but not seeing a lot of sales results, this is going to be a really helpful episode for you. Let's dive on in. I'm Tash Corbin, and this is the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. Before we jump into specifically talking about getting sales on social media, I want to give a little shout out to Lisa Tuhig, who submitted a question over at tashcorbin.com/question that related to connection and getting sales on social media. So I thought I would quickly answer Lisa's question at the start of today's episode. I've talked about this several times before, so I didn't want to put a full episode into it, but Lisa asked for clarification on using your Facebook personal profile versus your Facebook page to get sales on social media. Now, my stance on this one is pretty straightforward, and that is that a profile is not a scalable channel on social media. And also, using a profile to create a business, unless you have a creator profile, is actually against Facebook's terms and conditions. And having seen dozens and dozens of people lose their entire Facebook presence because they did too much business promotions on their personal profile means that I am definitely someone who would advise you to be more careful and focus on using your Facebook page instead. If you have a post on your Facebook profile that does really well and you want to put it in front of larger audiences, there's actually no opportunity for you to do that with paid advertising at this point in time. And so that makes the profile unscalable. So hopefully that answers your question, Lisa. I know that it is being taught as a strategy because profiles get more reach and all of those sorts of things. But actually, if you put time and energy into creating a Facebook page that gets lots of engagement and really working out what posts do best on your Facebook page, you will see more reach on a page than you will on a profile eventually. And so what I recommend that you do is start as you mean to go on. You want a presence on social media that's completely scalable, that is aligned with where you want to go in your business. And so therefore, I recommend start as you mean to go on, create that Facebook page and really focus on getting that to work rather than diving into lots and lots of different strategies because certain things are preferenced at certain times by the Facebook algorithm. We saw this same problem happen a few years ago when everyone was teaching people to have a Facebook group rather than promoting on their Facebook page. And whilst group posts were being preferenced at the time, that changed in early 2020. And so what that meant was that people who had Facebook groups were getting less and less reach in their own communities and were really struggling to get in front of their audience. And again, it's not scalable because you have no way of creating an ad that reaches more people inside that community. Also, once your group gets over a certain number of members, you no longer have access to the @everyone tag that is so hot right now. And that is being given as a reason why people should still be creating and building Facebook groups. But actually, the first place to focus and really get nailed is your Facebook page. Full stop. That's where we need to get it working first and foremost. And if you're struggling to get it working on a Facebook page, then using sideways tactics or trying to beat the algorithm through using other strategies actually won't fix the core problem. The core problem is that your content is not creating enough engagement. And regardless of whether you use a profile or a Facebook group or a page, ultimately, if your content is not engaging for your audience, your reach is going to go down. And so what I recommend is that you focus on your Facebook page, really developing the algorithm in your favor by creating high engagement content. And therefore, it's almost like you're creating an infallible plan, because if at any time page reach goes down again, it's very good at the moment, but if it does go down again in the future, you have access to ads and other strategies to get that content in front of larger and larger audiences. And it's a very scalable place for you to be focusing on Facebook. So Lisa, I hope that answers your question. If you would like to check Lisa out, we'll make sure that we have links to her socials and her website over with the show notes of today's episode at tashcorbin.com/337. So now moving on to actually making sales from social media. The first thing that I want to point out is that there's a lot of talk out there and there's a lot of training that would have you believe that making sales on social media is a simple matter of reaching more people and having better converting offers. And that is the outside of the client attraction process, reaching people and getting that conversion. But actually on social media, the number one driver of sales sits in between those two things. Yes, we want to be reaching larger and larger audiences, but we need to also nurture a relationship with that audience, generate leads out of that audience, and then make sales. And that's where I think a lot of people fall down. We get caught up in this mistaken belief that we just need to reach more people and have our offers convert far more effectively. So we get very fixated on reach strategies. It can see you being on multiple platforms and spreading yourself thin. You fall for every single, if you're not doing this, you're leaving money on the table, kind of fear-based strategy that is out there. You get very caught up in watching webinars that promise you to have reels go viral or how to get your content get more eyes on it, and so you get very reach orientated when it comes to your social media strategy, and then you're really fixated on getting conversions. So you might then be convinced that you need to hire a copywriter, you need better sales pages, you need better messaging, you need a better offer, you need to go high ticket, you need to go low ticket, you need to have funnels, right? All of these very conversion orientated strategies that don't necessarily create great sales when you're working with a very cold audience. So if we just focus on reach and conversion, what we're trying to do is get cold audience members to buy from us quickly. And that's the exception. It's not the rule. In most cases, people don't just see your stuff on social media and then instantly decide to buy from you. We need to develop a relationship. And that's why reach, nurture, lead generation, and conversion are the 4 key steps of the client attraction process. Because we need to build it by the rule, not build it by the exception. So the only part of your client attraction process that has a direct correlation of numbers with sales is lead generation. You can absolutely 10x your reach on social media, but does that mean you'll 10x your conversions? In most cases, no, it doesn't. You can 10x the number of people who are on your mailing list. You can 10x the number of people who are engaging with your content. But does that mean you'll 10x your sales? Not necessarily. But the one part of your client attraction process that has a direct relationship with sales is lead generation. If you 10x your leads, you will 10x your results, especially when you start to get your business working at scale. So rather than getting really reach-centric, we want to create a balanced client attraction process, and we want to put far more energy attention into one-to-one nurture strategies and one-to-one lead generation strategies on social media. Now, this is if you want to make more sales from your social media presence. If at the moment you are not focused on making more sales from your social media presence, you're fully booked out, you need to leverage, then this is not going to be a strategy that's going to be particularly helpful for you at this stage of your journey. But if you are still not making consistent sales from your social media presence and you don't have a reliable flow of leads into your business, then the thing that I would recommend that you do is to really focus on one-to-one nurture strategies and one-to-one lead generation strategies on social media. So what do I mean by that? Well, it can be as simple as setting aside 30 minutes a week for one-to-one nurture and 30 minutes a week for one-to-one lead generation. And in that time, experimenting and finding what is the best one-to-one nurture strategy that works effectively for you and is doing its job in your audience, and then similarly for one-to-one lead generation. In fact, when I first started my business, had 30 minutes a day of my social media strategy being one-to-one nurture strategies, because at that point in time, I had time available to me, and I was very focused on ensuring that I was getting the sales in to really prove that people saw value in what it was that I had to offer. And so every day for 30 minutes, I would find ways to go and help people one-to-one, absolutely free, on social media. So I wouldn't give away lots and lots of free calls with me. That strategy didn't work for me. I did experiment with that in the early days of my business, but I actually found a paid single session worked far better than a free one for me. But I would, for 30 minutes a day, go and find people in Facebook groups, on my own social media channels, in other people's Facebook groups who had problems that I could solve. And I would put time and energy into helping people solve those problems. So if someone was in a Facebook group saying, how do I structure a blog so that it's doing its job? I would go in and in the comments, write some tips on how to structure a blog so that it was doing its jobs. And then I would take that information and I would also create an article or a video that I could put on my own content channels that answered that same question. Going into Facebook communities and going onto my own social media channels and asking people what they were stuck with and then helping them immediately not only created lots and lots of really strong relationships online, but it also gave me all the information I needed to have a content plan that lasted me for 2 years. Because every time I helped someone, I found another specific question that they were asking about or another thing that they needed help with that I could create some useful educational content around. So finding ways to have access to those people who are most interested in your work, who are asking questions about things that you can help with, is a critical part of a social media strategy. Now, what that generally means for a lot of people is that they end up going onto far too many social media platforms. They decide that there's not enough people who are engaging with them on Facebook, so they need to be on Instagram, or they need to be on TikTok, or they need to be on LinkedIn. And what you end up doing is going back to being very reach orientated. So spreading yourself across multiple platforms is a reach strategy. It's not actually a nurture strategy. So rather than jumping from platform to platform to platform, what I would recommend that you do is really focus on one platform and create a one-to-one nurture and one-to-one lead generation strategy that is going to be super effective for you. It's within your wheelhouse and your strengths. It works for your audience, and therefore it's going to create far more leads, which is going to directly correlate to creating far more sales. So we want to spend time on social media proactively nurturing one-to-one relationships and proactively qualifying people to see if they are a good fit to work with you or they are a hot lead for your work. So this comes from a range of different pieces of content, asking questions on social media. It might be that you do an Ask Me Anything where people can submit questions to you and you're responding to those questions and developing a one-to-one relationship. Something that I love to do is to look through my social media posts, whether that be on my page or in Facebook groups where I do spend a bit of time still to this day. And I look for people who are consistently commenting, people who are consistently asking questions. And then I'll offer to do something or help them with something free of charge. I'll say, hey, you've been really helpful with me. I'm so grateful for all of the comments and questions that you post on socials. Is it okay if I send you a DM to offer something as a thank you? And most people say yes. And then I send them a DM and say, as a thank you, I'd love to just help you move forward with whatever you're stuck with right now. Why don't you let me know what you're working on in your business and where you find you're getting stuck, and I can help you work out what the next focal point should be for you. And lots of people take me up on that offer, and then a portion of them are great leads. They are interested in working with me further. That's why they're so engaged on my social channels. That's why they're asking lots of questions, because they are looking for someone to help them to grow their business. So if I help them to grow their business, then we're creating that relationship. And then if they find the strategies that I share and the things that we talk about helpful, then they're far more likely to then be interested in potentially working together into the future. Now, one of the things I will say about this strategy is that not everyone is going to be a lead instantly. A lot of people get caught up in these types of strategies as a get rich quick kind of process and they use it sort of in a flash and then they crash. So rather than just doing this once off here and there, what we're looking to do is create a consistent flow of leads into your business. So how can you consistently engage in one-to-one nurture strategies and one-to-one qualifying people into lead generation? And so if that means, as I said, setting aside a half hour a week for nurture and a half hour a week for lead generation, that's an hour a week just focusing on one-to-one relationships on social media. Now, I have been leading some people through this in a mastermind, and we've been experimenting with different one-to-one nurture strategies and one-to-one lead generation strategies. This is part of my takeoff program. And it has been fascinating to see how much people actually love and adore this process when they see actually people are super excited to hear from me. People are asking me questions. I'm having far more direct message conversations on social media than I've ever had before, and they're so insightful. And a lot of these people are asking how they can keep working with me. I don't even need to be doing the salesy, pushy, telling them how we can work together. They're asking because we're building a relationship and I'm helping them with something. So even just experimenting with this for a few weeks of having that time set aside and playing with different ways that you can develop those one-to-one relationships, I believe is a spectacular use of your time to really get that nailed. And I believe it really does result in, if you're doing it every single week, it results in that consistent flow of leads and those consistent sales coming in from social media. And for most people in the early stages of their business, or who still aren't having those 8 to 10K months, this is the activity that they could add in and swap out a bunch of other stuff that would get them to that consistent income. Rather than being on TikTok and doing reels and reach. If we take an hour a week out of your reach strategies and put that into one-to-one nurture and one-to-one lead gen, divided evenly, you will make far more sales in exactly the same amount of time. So hopefully this has got you excited to experiment with some nurture and lead generation strategies on your social media channels. And if you are looking for more insights on how to get those leads and sales coming in from Facebook in particular, then make sure you come over to the show notes of today's episode at tashcorbin.com/337, and I'll have a link there for you to come and check out my $0 Facebook marketing strategy, which is a free training to help you with a detailed plan on how to grow your Facebook presence and get those leads and sales coming in from Facebook as well. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. Until next time, I cannot wait to see you shine. Bye for now. Would you like more tips, tools, and resources to help you grow your heart-centered business? Head to tashcorbin.com today.